First and foremost, condolences. The moment a then 25-year-old drug dealer put on a chainmail vest reminiscent of medieval armour and took himself to a part of Milton Keynes where Somalian dealers were said to have conducted business, Lee Sopp knew exactly what he was getting himself into. He had committed himself to commit a crime. Now, call it a ride out or trying to off a rival, but no matter the wording, Lee Sopp was going to K to protect his financial interest, and that financial interest was a £900 a day drug operation. Lee Sopp was said to have become irritated, annoyed, and then left angry when an insurge of Somalian dealers that included 22-year-old rival mohamud hashi had started dealing white and H to Lee's customer base. Not only did Lee not like mohamud selling white and H, but he was also left fuming at the eye that these dealers had the gall, the audacity and the brazenness to start operating in Milton Keynes without his permission, without his say-so. Lee had regarded Milton Keynes as his area, his patch, his turf, especially the Fishermead area. He was king, emperor and ruler, and for another man, let alone a gang, to come into Milton Keynes and make money without Lee's say-so was not right. It was not acceptable, and Lee would not stand for it. Now, it goes without saying that selling Class A is illegal, therefore it's absolutely idiotic for these men to act as though they have ownership of any specific area when they're selling Class A like white and H. We've seen it time and time again that it's only gonna end in a bad way. Now, according to reports, mohamud was 22 years old and he was also known as Snoop, and he was selling the same Class A as Lee Sopp. Now, mohamud could not have known that Lee Sopp had started to look at him as a threat, and what made Lee Sopp so much more dangerous than mohamud was that he was not only willing to K in order to retain his customer base, but he actually went through with it. Lee Sopp was said to have a fascination, not only with blades, but also things like dusters and bowls, but he was also fixated on protective gear, like armour, which was classed as important in his chosen profession. On December 19th of 2019, Lee Sopp had donned on his Crusader-style chainmail armour, took a rigged blade that was said to have been made to cause maximum damage and cause carnage to the insides, and then put out alerts for people to locate Snoop. So, while Lee Sopp was zoning in on mohamud's location, reports say mohamud hashi had been picked up by his friend Abdullah Koshin Musi. Together, the two men were captured on CCTV, parking in the car park shopping centre at around 2 p.m. The two men were at the Milton Keynes shopping centre for just under an hour before mohamud got text messages asking for drugs. Now, Lee Davis, who was said to have been a customer, says that he had called mohamud, aka Snoop, in order to arrange a meet at the skate park bridge, and that call came through at 2:58 p.m. Lee Davis himself had travelled to the location with his mate Joshua Morgan. The men had entered a discreet part of the park shielded by bushes to complete a drug exchange. At the same time, Lee Sopp had arrived in a wooded area of Fishermead, close to the city centre. A few feet away, Lee, according to witnesses, was heard to have shouted, "Yo Snoop." The bass in his voice and the tone registered that this was not a happy call. The area in Fishermead was also known as a drug hotspot, so it would make sense that the two men had found each other at this location. Now, Joshua Morgan told police that Lee Sopp had acted like a madman possessed, and initially they thought that he was either high or on some different types of drug, as he was eager to use his blade. Now, Lee Sopp had paced forward before lunging his blade gripped firmly in his hand, and then swiped at Mahmoud, and then the carnage was inflicted. The blade was inserted into Mohamud's leg, the upper area. Not only was Lee Sopp planning to K his rival, Snoop, in order to send a very clear message to other drug dealers in and around Milton Keynes, but this was also an alleged robbery, as Lee Sopp had screamed, "Where are the Class A?" Lee Sopp was said to have then kept all the dealers in place with the blade until a passerby who was minding her own business on her way to pick up her daughter from school had walked right into the middle of the mayhem. She had heard wails come from a bush and noticed Lee Sopp still brandishing his blade, going from one person to the next person to the other person. When the unnamed woman turned again, she then noticed mohamud hashi, face down, unmoving, a pool of red right next to him. Immediately, the woman pressed the numbers 999 into a mobile phone and told dispatchers, please, we need an ambulance, and also police to come to the skate park bridge in Fishermead. Lee had then quickly fled the scene. Now sadly, after the police and paramedics arrived, Snoop was quickly pronounced dead at the scene at 4:41 p.m. This was officially an M. Now Lee Sopp was such a callous and emotionless and heartless person that after he had bladed his rival and then fled when confronted by a witness, Lee Sopp actually had the gall to return to the crime scene between 4:57 and 4:58 p.m. on the same evening, and even took out his mobile phone and recorded emergency services put up the tent as to declare the incident an M. Now it was said that Lee even had a conversation with police officers at the scene and asked them what happened, pretending to be a concerned member of the public. Now, within 24 hours, Lee Sopp was confronted by police as he was arrested and then placed in handcuffs. When confronted by the evidence against him, Lee Sopp says that he wore the chain-style vest to protect himself from being bladed. Police also found that Lee had routinely carried a samurai in a guitar case with the words Soul's Revenge inscribed on it. It was estimated that Lee Sopp had regularly made £900 a day while operating 7 days a week on a 12-hour shift. Now, when police confiscated Lee's mobile phone, even more evidence had been gathered against him. Messages showed that Lee had been planning to blade any Somali dealers that Lee came across, so specifically mohamud hashi as well. This was to send a clear message that dealers could not just walk in on his turf and begin making money. Now, in court, Lee Sopp admitted to the blading but denied the M. He was hoping to get off on manslaughter, telling the jury and the judge I had just given him a little jab in order to warn him off of my drug dealing patch. The excuse was not accepted by anyone in the courtroom, and Lee Sopp was found guilty of the M to his astonishment. The judge had told Lee Sopp that he was going to be jailed for life at Luton Crown Court. The judge also explained that Lee would grow old in jail, with the minimum term set at a mammoth 30 years for the M of arrival in order to protect a £900 a day drug operation. Now, in your opinion, does the crime match the sentence? Let me know in the comments. Stay safe.